Tonight we're going to talk about fighting for the blessing. Like I said earlier, there are blessings that are freely given to us, and there are blessings that we need to fight for. There are blessings that require a certain amount of persistence. And you guys are probably thinking back like, man, what's something that like I really needed to fight for? What's something I really needed to put effort into to actually receive? And you think about those times, man, I didn't give up and I kept on going and I kept on going. That same energy that you put into that, that's what we need to put into when we are holding on to God. When God has that blessing, it's about to be released and we're fighting, we're trying to get there, but we feel like giving up, we feel like we're done. It's that time of, I need to keep holding on, not give up on this, because the blessing's right around the corner. And it's that time where, that moment that you decide to give up, and you didn't know really how close you were because you don't see it, but it's like, man, you're right there, and that's when you let go, and that's when God's like, how's about to release it, and you were that close. But when you were this close, that's when you said, I'm done. All right? So God has a thing with persistence. When you have that persistence, God seems to reward it, in a sense. Whenever we look in the Bible at people who nagged at God for something, He usually gave them what they were asking for. The woman who wanted her daughter healed, she was like, no, God. And God was like, woman, like, what do you want? He had an attitude, like, what do you want? She's like, I need you to heal my daughter, I need you. And He did it. Because they were persistent. They were persistent in seeking God. They were persistent in seeking that blessing that they were looking for. You know, they were persistent at seeking Him and looking for Him to just release what it is that was theirs. But God has a bunch of blessings that belong to us, and again, some are free, some are just here you go. But there's some that require a certain amount of persistence because they're special. These are ones that actually take work for you to get this one. You can't steal it. You can't try and go and cut corners for it. It's the one where God is like, this one you have to put in some work for it. You got to put in some effort. And always, when you're about to receive that blessing, there's always people that are going to get in the way. There's always something that will get in the way as you're working towards that and trying to get to it. There are people that will try to get in the way of you trying to receive that blessing. When you're fighting, you're not just fighting yourself. You're fighting other principalities and other things that don't want you to achieve that. Because the same way you're fighting for that, the enemy's also fighting for you not to get there. But a lot of Christians even now don't understand the real power you hold over the enemy. The true, just when you living in a life, we're free from sin, we've been freed by God, just how much power you actually have over the enemy. But a lot of, and I say Christians, it's not even just people in the church, don't understand just how amount of power they've been given by God over the enemy. And every time he comes, we're just like, oh, I'm done. Oh, I give up. Oh, I'm going to go backwards. And we just stop so quickly, you know? And those are things this is why we talk about this stuff, because these are things that need to break. These are things that the Bible says, I did not put that in you. I did not put that spirit of quitting in you. I didn't do that. You know, that's a byproduct of Adam and Eve. But I did not originally put that in you. That's something we need to fight against. And there's always going to be so many things that are going to tell you to stop pursuing a certain blessing. Because you feel so excited about it, man, this is mine, I'm going for it. But then when things aren't going your way, when things are starting not to go as planned, you think, I guess it wasn't for me. You know, this is it, I'm done pursuing this, it wasn't for me, and we just give up that easy. But there's always going to be those thoughts in your ears that are going to tell you to stop pursuing that blessing. They're going to tell you to stop pursuing God. They're going to tell you to stop seeking the Lord. And those, again, are the times where we have to understand what's more important here, my now or my later. Because I feel good living in the now. Because right now I feel great, but God has better. So am I going to keep pursuing that better, or am I just going to stay in right now in the way I feel right now. And that's things even I go through, everyone goes through, just those things that get in the way where you're like, should I stop pursuing this? It's not coming as fast as I thought, and I wanted it quick, because that's how we are. We want everything microwave. We want everything quick. I want that $20 an hour job. I want it quick. I want it now. You know, I want all those things right now. And we don't want to put in the work for it, though. You want that blessing, it requires a certain amount of persistence. So then you want to steal it from someone else that actually put in that persistence, and you want to take it from them when you didn't deserve it. You stole it. Or you tried to steal it. You try to steal it from the people that actually put in that work, right? And so it's funny because we see other people, man, God's blessing them, God's doing this with them, well, you don't see the work that goes behind the scenes for them to get to that blessing. You know, you want to get that blessing, but you're not willing to actually do what that person did to receive it. You don't see that person on their knees every night. You don't see that person and them being in the Word and just trying to grow their relationship with God. But we want to be there fast. I want to be at that level next week. I want to be at that level next month, but I'm not willing to put in what it takes to pursue that blessing. So it'll come to you. It'll come when you're willing to actually get back up, especially when it totally takes you down. When you are pursuing, and then something happens where it just totally takes away all your faith. We've all had that moment. We question, like, God, are you even real? Like, is this really happening right now? When everything was just going so great and everything was just doing so good, and all of a sudden, bam, that circumstance hits, and we start to question everything. We start to question why we were even pursuing this. I must have been crazy. I must have been naive. I must have been thinking, you know, good things happen to people that pursue God, but guess not. These are thoughts that come in our head. I think about it, you know, especially again when everything is just going great and just that one thing that happens that just totally sets you backwards. Whether it's financially, whether it's spiritually, whether it's mentally, it totally puts you backwards and you feel like all this ground I gained, I literally just lost. That's when that moment comes into how long am I willing to hold on? Because that's what's being tested here, the faith. The faith is being tested, your hope is being tested. God's going to do that, so when you bounce back from it, you're going to hit another level, but you got to hold on. And we're going to get into that about Jacob. And the fight in front of us, it can be overwhelming, and we truly feel like we can't. But everything that comes in the way of our pursuit of that blessing, God built you. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. You were made to overcome. That's what we are. We're overcomers. God overcame, or Jesus overcame. He overcame death. We are overcomers. God already put that in us. It's part of His image. And God made us in His image, so those are things that are already in us. And that moment comes where we fight God. We're mad at God. This is what you told me to do. It ain't going well. This isn't what I thought would happen. And we fight Him. I fought God before. Who here hasn't? I get mad at Him. I've spoken to Him and I said, what are you doing? This is not how this was supposed to go. Where do you have me? You know, I feel like we go up, down, up, down, up, down. I want to feel up all the time. But that's not the reality of this walk. You're not going to feel like you're up all the time. There's days where you're going to feel down. There's days where you're pursuing what God called you to do, and a lot of times you feel here, but a lot of times you feel down here. And sometimes you feel like you've been more down here than you've been up here. You know? And so that's when we start to fight God. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah, I used to serve you, I used to follow you, but things happened and things just aren't the same between us. I'm mad at you. I'm fighting with you. So we're so used to bringing the fight to God, but we're not used to God bringing the fight to us, which He does. You know, And there's probably Christians who are saying, well, how did you say God would pick a fight with me? You know, what are you talking about? Oh, he does. He's done it before. He did it with Jacob. What makes you think he won't do it with you? When he has to pull something out of you, when he has to really get something out of you, whatever it is, he will bring the fight to you. And he will fight you. Like, well, we're going to read it, but he will approach you and he will fight you. It's not, you know, and again, and that's the thing, we're so used to, well, I'm supposed to fight with God. God ain't supposed to fight with me. That's not how it's supposed to happen. But then once the fight comes to us, we're like, oh man, like, what was I thinking trying to bring the fight to him? You know? And that's happened before. Some of you might experience that, some might not, but God does bring the fight to people. And he brings the fight sometimes to us, especially when we're going through these situations. And it's funny because when we're feeling like this, when we're feeling that way of the giving up thing, that I'm done, this totally set me back, God, this is not the time for you to fight me. I'm sorry, this is not the time to do that. The way I'm feeling, this is not the time for you to be picking a fight with me. I'm not up for it. I'm not feeling it, okay? I'm the one who picks when I fight with you. You don't pick when you fight with me, okay? I set the appropriate time of when to fight with you. But when he does it back to us, what? We're shocked. We're surprised. We're like, this isn't supposed to be happening right now. Not right now, God, please. Not right now. Don't fight with me right now, man. This is not the time to be doing it. I feel down here right now. I feel weak. This is not the time. This is not the time to do it when I'm feeling so anxious, when I'm feeling so depressed. I'm not in the mood. Don't fight with me. But that's usually, again, God's timing is not our timing. And a lot of times we feel like he comes at the wrong time. God, this isn't the time for this. This isn't the time for you to be putting this in my life. This isn't the time for you to be fighting me about what you've been telling me and what I'm feeling right now. But he does that. And it comes down to, how long are you willing to endure when he's fighting you? How long are you willing to hold on while he's fighting you and challenging your faith? How long are you willing to hold on to that faith to actually make it to see the blessing that's going to come from it? And here, Jacob was someone that had to fight for his blessing. Jacob got in a fight with God about receiving a blessing. So we'll go to Genesis 25. Let me know when you guys are there. Mm-hmm. It's the first book of the Bible.
The Holy Bible?
The Holy Bible. So we'll go to Genesis 25 and we'll start at 24. So, at this time, okay, Isaac, who was the son of Abraham, he had a wife, her name was Rebecca, all right? So these two get together and they're having a hard time having kids as well, but they end up having kids. Not just one, they actually end up having 2 kids, okay? So they end up having 2 kids. So we'll start at number 20. So Genesis 25, number 20. It says, Isaac was 4 years old when he took his wife Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Paddan, and sister of Laban, the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord heard his prayer, and his wife Rebekah conceived. But the children inside of her struggled with each other, and she said, why is this happening to me? So she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb. 2 people will come from you and be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. So when her time came to give birth, there was indeed twins in her womb, and the first one came out red-looking, covered with hair, with a fur coat. That was an interesting baby. And they named him Esau. And after this, his brother came out grabbing Esau's heel with his hand, so he was named Jacob. Isaac was 6 years old when they were born. So, right from the get-go, there's a word already given over Jacob's life. The older one is going to serve the younger one. They both know it. Isaac and Rebecca, they both know this. I'm sure Rebecca ended up telling Isaac, hey, this is what the Lord told me about our kids. And it's crazy that even when they were in the belly, she felt they were struggling with each other. They were fighting with each other. Her children were struggling. And that just told, when I was reading that, I'm like, that's the same thing happening in the church today. The children of God are struggling with each other and fighting with each other and grabbing each other's heel when they're coming out of the womb, trying to like get ahead of each other, like it's some kind of competition or something. There's a lot of Christian pastors and this and that with that mentality of this person's ahead, I need to try and get in front of him. He's got more congregants than me, I gotta go try and get in front of him. Oh, she does this better, he does this better, I gotta go try and beat him. I gotta go try and be better, right? And in that conquest of, I want to be better, I want to be in front of him all the time, and I want to win thing, we end up doing whatever it takes to get there. And that's when that danger comes because, well, God gave a word over my life, and I'm going to go get it. I don't care what gets in my way, which isn't necessarily wrong, but there's a right way to do that. So when Jacob was born with Esau, he came out just grabbing the heel. He was born first and he was mad about it. He was like, man, you got out before me. How'd you get out before me? Like, no, I want to come out before you. You could tell they were having that fight in the womb of who's going to come out first. And Esau ended up winning that, And nothing's really changing today, even with the siblings of fighting of who's going to be first, who's going to be ahead, who's going to be this, who's going to be that. And we have the attitude of like, well, I got to beat my sibling, I got to be better than them. I want to show mom and dad that I'm better and I did better and stuff like that. There's siblings in the church still living this way. There are brothers and sisters in Christ living this way. I need to get in front and I will grab your heel to try to pull you back so I can get to my blessing. So not only that, I'm now stopping you from getting there and then putting myself in front of you to get there. Not the right way to go for it at all whatsoever. But God spoke that word over Jacob. All right? He spoke that word over him, and it was going to happen. Obviously, it's going to happen, But we see later on how Jacob really tries to just take matters in his own hand and says, I'm going to make this blessing happen. And I'll do whatever it takes. I don't care. I'm going to get what's mine. All right? So then we go to Genesis 27. We'll start at 30. So in this moment, Jacob gets that word over Esau, but the parents had favorites. Isaac favored Esau. Rebecca loved Jacob. We have favoritism here. We see how favoritism always creates problems. Always. It's going to make issues. Because then as these siblings grow up, oh, well, you're always the favorite of this person, you're always the favorite of that person, and this and that. So when it came down to this moment when Isaac, he's about to die, so he's like, I'm going to bless my oldest son, because that is what's customary. We always bless the older one before we die, and he gets the blessing, he pretty much gets all my stuff, and he goes moving on. When this moment comes, Jacob tries to get in the way of it, or he doesn't try, he gets in the way of this blessing. That is, he's trying to bestow upon Esau, all right? So in the process of this guy impersonates, when Isaac calls him into the room, calls Esau, hey, let me bless you, and he tells him, hey, because Esau was a hunter. This guy was all about being in the outdoors, this and that. That was his thing. Jacob was more of, I like to be inside. I don't like to be out there like that. Isaac tells him, hey, Esau, go out there, get me some food, make it, really good and serve, give your father something good to eat. And Esau's like, okay, I'm gonna go do that. But then Jacob overhears it, or Rebecca overhears that. So then she makes this plan on what she's gonna do because of what just happened. So she's like, okay, well, there was that blessing supposed to be for Jacob, so I'm gonna get in the way of it. It said it's supposed to be for Esau, it's supposed to be for Jacob, so we're going to steal what was actually meant for Esau. Yeah, a word was given over you, Jacob, but I want to steal it because I think this is the way it was supposed to happen. So when we go to 27:30, it says, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had left the presence of his father Isaac, his brother Esau arrived from the hunt. So we see Esau went hunting to get the food and all that stuff to serve him. And Jacob's mom made the plan to take it, and we're going to take this in our own hands. She told Jacob, hey, I'm going to make some food. I'm going to make the food. We're going to serve it to your dad. All right? And you're going to act like you're Esau. So we're going to put like hairy goat skin on your hands and stuff so he feels you, and you're going to put on Esau's clothes so he can totally think it's you. All right? We want him to totally think it's you, so this is how we're going to do this. All right? So that happens, and then when we go to 31, he had also made some delicious food and brought it to his father. Then he said to his father, let my father get up and eat some of his son's game so that you may bless me. But his father Isaac said to him, who are you? I don't know who you are. I just blessed Esau, so you're claiming to be him. How does that work out? But then his father Isaac said to him, who are you? He answered, I am Esau, your firstborn son. Isaac began to tremble uncontrollably. Who was it then, he said, who hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it all before you came in, and I blessed him. Indeed, he will be blessed. When Esau heard his father's word, he cried out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, bless me too, my father. But he replied, your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing. And that's hard to hear because there's some of us here who actually might have been in that position where we've had a blessing stolen from us, from somebody else. Somebody else got in the way and took a blessing that was actually meant for us, but they were so on that conquest of that spirit of Jacob where it's like, no, I'm going to get in front of it and I'm going to make that mine. Even though God already spoke a word over my life, all right, but I don't trust it enough that it's going to happen, so I'm going to make it happen. So whatever was meant for him or her, whatever God might have said over them, I want to take that, whatever word is spoken to them, and I want that to be over me. But when we do that, it doesn't work out the word that was meant for them. When we try to put ourselves like under that word, God's word is unique to every single one of us. He called us all to do different things in a different way. And when we try to stand under what was meant for somebody else and we try to get under it, it doesn't work out right. And then you find yourself in all this conflict and all these issues for trying to force yourself into a blessing that wasn't yours to get in that way. It's the way he got it. Not necessarily him getting it. It was the way he did it. But Isaac was wrong too, because he knew technically what was supposed to happen. This blessing is supposed to be for Jacob. But Esau's my favorite. I like him. So I'm going to bless him. And I'm sure Rebecca, I don't know if she ever reminded Isaac, like, hey, that blessing was supposed to be for Jacob. He tries to make it happen with his own hands. And we see all the conflict and issues as we keep reading that get in the way of what it is of the way, it's just the way he got it, created so many issues for him later. If he would just trusted God and said, you know what, God, I trust your words are going to happen over me, even though they're in front of me, even though they're getting it before me, even though they're like getting ahead and I'm just keep going backwards, I still trust that your word is going to come true over my life. But this wasn't Jacob right now. Jacob was like, no, I'm going to make it mine, and I want to get it, and I want to be first. He was first coming out. I need to be first getting this. All right? I'm tired of him being like dad's favorite. He probably had that attitude. He's dad's favorite, you know, it's annoying, and I don't like it. All right? So we see here Jacob has never really fought or earned a blessing. He always deceived his way into a blessing. He has yet to actually ever fight for one. He don't know what it is to actually, I put in the work and this is what I got from it. Everybody wants the blessing, right? He told Esau, hey, go cook me food, come bring it back, and I'm going to bless you. Not everyone's willing to do that. Not everyone's willing to go out there, find the food, cook it, and bring it to be shared. Jacob wasn't willing to do it. Jacob didn't even cook it. His mom cooked the food. He couldn't even do that. His mom had the food, he didn't even cook it. Everybody wants that blessing, but when it's time to cook, it's like, nah. Do I really want it? Nah, I don't feel like cooking. And there's a lot of Christians that sit, they don't do anything, they come, oh, that was a good word, that's fine, great. But when it comes time to, hey, you want to go deeper? You got to start cooking. I don't want to. I don't want to cook. I know how hard it is to go out there and hunt. I know how hard it is to go out there and actually seek you and try and find you. And, you know, I know that takes it takes an effort on my part. It takes time on my part. It starts to change my life, and I like the way I am right now. So I'm going to try and cut every kind of corner I can to get to that blessing. So I'm okay with stealing it. I'll just steal it, and I don't have to work for it, and there we go. I got it without putting in the work. And there are people here that have this same exact mindset. When it comes that time to, hey, go hunt, bring me that offering, and I'm going to bless you. That's all you got to do. No, I don't want to. I'm not willing to put in that work. I'm not willing to put in that time it takes to be in the kitchen to cook for me to share it. Because there's a time in your life where God is going to ask you to start cooking. It's a time we're done eating. Now it's actually time for you to start cooking something. For you to actually start cooking some food. And because you've been eating your whole life. You've been sitting on a pew eating, you've been just eating, you're comfortable, I'm good. It's so easy being served. It's so easy just, here you go, here's a spoon and all that, but when it's actually time to, hey, it's your time to go to the kitchen, I don't want to take that step right now. I want to be you, I want to get to that level, it sounds great, but what's the easiest way to get there without me having to go in the kitchen? Jacob tried to do this, which he did take it with him, but we see later on, it caught up to him. It didn't go the way as planned. He wasn't thinking like all these repercussions are going to happen from him stealing a blessing from Esau. And even though it was meant for him, the Bible says, nah, you stole it. You deceived. You stole something that did not belong to you. You tried to put yourself under something that did not belong to you, and you wonder why it didn't work out. But God has a way of taking your mistakes, taking all your mistakes and everything you've done to somehow still work towards the word that he put over your life. And we see how later on that actually, even though Jacob did this, somehow it all just comes together to that word still coming over Jacob's life. Still coming true over Jacob's life. And so, he lied, he stole, and that blessing wasn't for him, it was for Esau, and he stole it. I want to steal this, I want it to be mine. But he stole it, now comes God. Now comes God to say, okay, I'm coming for you. I saw what you did. You're not going to escape me. You might be able to run from them, but you can't escape me. And this is what ended up happening. He got so scared because Esau got so mad. He's like, I'm going to kill you. And he ran away. So now Jacob is a guy who doesn't like conflict, never fought for anything in his life. This is the direction he is going. Every time conflict gets in the way, I'm running away. I'm running away from the problem. Sometimes we do the same exact thing where, oh, the problem's in front of me, oh, the conflict, I'm running away. I'm just going to get away from it. I ain't going to fight this, I ain't going to. But when we do that, what happens? The problem stays there and it never gets fixed until we come back and confront it. Just because you run away from something doesn't mean that runs away too. The conflict is still there, the problem is still there until we come and confront what the real issue is. And we see how God confronts Jacob and says, I know the real issue here. You've never fought for anything. And since you never fought for anything, well, guess what? We're going to fight. Because I need to get that out of you. I need to take out that anxiety, that fear, that spirit of running away. I need to get that out of you. I need to extract that out of you. And the only way for that to happen is if I bring the fight to you. Because then that's where you're actually going to learn how to actually hold on. When you feel like you're getting beat up and you feel like you're losing, how long are you willing to actually hold on to me when you're feeling a certain way? And God was still with Jacob even when he ran away. And what's interesting is Isaac told him to go run to his uncle Laban, and he made him work, all right? Because he saw his daughter Rachel, and he's like, man, she's so beautiful, I want her as my wife. Laban's like, okay, well, work for me for 7 years and you can get her. He's like, okay. So he works for 7 years. He's like, all right, it's time for Rachel. So they all get drunk and stuff, and he gives her his other daughter, his oldest daughter, Leah, who wasn't as pretty, I guess. So they get together, wake up in the morning, he's like, you ain't Rachel. And he goes to Laban and he's like, hey, you didn't give me Rachel, you gave me your oldest. He's like, it is not customary for the youngest to get married before the oldest. So then that goes back to, it is not customary for me to bless the youngest before the oldest. Mm-hmm. And that was God telling Jacob right there, like, I know what you did. And it wasn't customary for that to happen. That wasn't the way it was supposed to happen, Jacob. You didn't have to go stealing stuff. If you just trusted my word over your life and just went the way I told you to go, we wouldn't be in this predicament. But you know what? This is the way you chose, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to deal with you one-on-one. That's how this is going to go. All right? So we go to 32, Genesis 32. We'll start at 24. So at this time now, Esau was preparing, they're both preparing basically to meet each other again. Because after that one day, Esau was like, I'm going to kill you, and Jacob's like, okay, I'm running away. I'm done. So now we're getting back into that time of, okay, Jacob, now we're going to go meet each other again. And Jacob right now is very scared. He has a lot of anxiety. He's like, I can't see him again. I can't face him again. I can't face the problem. I ran away from it thinking like it wasn't going to come back to me. And here it is. It's coming back to me, and I need to go face this thing now. That conflict I left behind with him. And it's crazy because even us as Christians, we have conflicts with people. We still have grudges with people. And every time, for some reason, we see this person or they come around, you get that feeling, right? Like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. That like, you just get like this feeling of like, I don't want to see him. I don't want to be in the same room with him. I just go away. Instead of facing that, that conflict of, you know what, this is what happened between us. I was stupid. I messed up. Forgive me. I apologize. That's what we should be doing. If we call ourselves followers of Christ, that is what we should be doing. The world does what we run away, we leave it, I don't care. That's what the world does. We should not be doing that. We should be that example of, you know what, yeah, I had a problem and we fixed it. Whether they're still mad at me, that's the problem, but I approached them and I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for what I've done. And Jacob was in this moment of confronting that, because he stole it and left, and just left it that way. But if he only knew Esau wasn't trying to kill him anymore, he's like, I just want to see my brother, and that's it. So he's sending like gifts and other people in front of him to try and like soften him up. Like, oh, we're bringing this on behalf of Jacob. Oh, here you go. Thinking like Esau won't be mad at him or something when they see each other again. So when he's actually on his way, we're going to read it now. He actually goes on his way to meet up with them. So we'll start at 24. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. God waited till he was alone. You need to do this by yourself. You ain't gonna call nobody for help. You're not gonna bring homeboys or homegirls to come help you out here. We're fighting. You and me, by ourselves. And the thing is, no one really knows the internal fight that you go through with God. Nobody knows that. The only person that knows that is you. You're the only person who knows how much fighting I'm doing with God by yourself. Now, we can see it sometimes on the outside, like, you need to stop fighting with God and just do what he's telling you to do. But on the inside, there's a whole other fight that nobody sees, but you see it. So he gets Jacob all by himself and says, we are going to fight. So that when the man saw that he could not defeat him, he struck Jacob's hip socket as they wrestled and dislocated his hip. Why would God fight me and dislocate my hip? That's a mean God. That's not the loving God that we talk about. That is not the one. Bring back the God of love, not the God of breaking my hip socket. That's not the God we want. But when we're this stubborn, he's got to do that sometimes. He has to come and break your hip. I'm trying to teach you something here. You can fight me. You are not going to beat me. You can keep running away from me. You are not going to run faster than me. My word is already over you, Jacob. It's going to happen either way. And we try to do the same. We think we can run faster than God. We think we hide better than God. We think we fight better than God. And you always come up on the losing end every single time. Just to show that I am in control of your life. But no one sees this fight that you guys are going through. No one understands it. No one sees this. Again, sometimes we physically see it, but on the inside, we don't see that internal war that you have against God for whatever reason. Everything that's happened in your life, you just blame him. Oh, it's your fault. Oh, it's your fault. You're going to do that your whole life. God, it's your fault. You're going to just keep bringing that up your whole entire life. As you miss out on all these blessings because you keep on fighting with him about these things that happen. God, why did this have to happen to me? God, why did this happen to them? Why didn't this happen to her? I'm trying to have their life. Why can't I have their life? They have a great life. That's the life I want. I don't want my life. I want their life. But if only you saw if only you were looking at the word that God put over your life and not the word that he put over someone else's life, and you focus on that word, you'll see why you're in this predicament, why you're in this situation. Something is going to come out of it. There's a blessing on the other end of this battle. But since you're focused on someone else's battle and someone else's blessing, you don't see the blessing that's right in front of you. You don't see the word that's already been spoken to you right in front of you. You're looking at someone else's. At 26, then he said to Jacob, let me go, for it is daybreak. So this man's telling Jacob, you need to stop fighting. Like, just let me go. Stop touching me. Stop fighting me. We're done. We've been fighting for a while now. It's daybreak. All right? Let me go. Okay? But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. Now we're getting somewhere, Jacob. This is what I've been trying to get out of you. That anxiety, that fear, all that, I've been trying to get that out of you and actually make you fight for something. Because if you want to fight what's out there and you want to fight the enemy and I want to fight the devil and this and that, you can't beat him if you can't beat me. And not beat me in the sense of physically, beat me in the sense of how long are you willing to hold on to me? Because he had to tell Jacob, let me go. He was testing Jacob there like, you going to hold on or you going to let me go? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to let me go or are you going to hold on? And then he said to him, I will not let you go until you bless me. We have to have that same exact attitude. Because the thing is, God, this fight is for God to get something out of you. To get out whatever, this fight is to fight for that overcoming of whatever that is that holds you back from that blessing. We're going to get it out, and this is how we're going to get it out. We're going to fight. Because when you come out of this, then you'll be prepared to face what's coming. But if you let me go, you're not going to get the blessing. Even if I break your hip socket, are you going to let me go? Or are you going to keep holding on? And there's times where we feel that way. I can't keep fighting. I'm done. I can't keep going. My hip socket's broken. I can barely walk. That's the time where a lot of people walk away. God, you know what? I'm letting you go. I didn't deserve this. I did not want this. I'm just letting you go. I'm done. Bye. But Jacob understood what this was about. He understood, you know what? He's testing how long am I willing to hold on? How long am I willing to grab Jesus and not let him go? Even if I'm limping. Even if I'm crawling. You're all I have left. Once I let you go, what do I have to hold on to? Nothing. Money, this world, all that stuff disappears. I'm going to hold on to something that's stood the test of time. I'll hold on to something where time is literally separated by his birth and by his death. That's what I'm going to hold on to. I don't want to hold on to something that just disappears. I want to hold on to something that stands the test of time. And God already did that. What is your name? The man asked in 27. Jacob, he replied. Your name will no longer be Jacob, he said. It'll be Israel because you have struggled with God and with man and have prevailed. So not only did Jacob get in a fight with God through this man, he held on. He held on to his faith. He held on, God, I ain't letting you go until you bless me. And he didn't run away he didn't stop letting go even when he was limping. He kept going. He's like, I want my blessing. I ain't letting go of you. I want it and I'm going for it. But it changed him because his name changed. Jacob changed after this encounter. He changed after this fight. And that's what fights with God do. They change us. And he changed his name to Israel. You're not Jacob anymore. That Jacob, that name, that was left behind in the fight. It ain't here anymore. You're somebody new after this now. I had to fight that Jacob out of you. That old Jacob, that just scared, anxiety, run away. We're going to do away with that. We're going to fight that Jacob. We got to get him out of here. Now I'm going to change your name to Israel. This is your new name now. This is the new you. Okay? And it will be Israel because you have struggled with God and with men and you have prevailed. You struggled with me, you made it. You struggled with man, you made it. But no one sees these things. Only you know who you've struggled with, and only you know your struggle with God. And you see, it's funny when you get that blessing and you take care of it, and people ask like, man, why is he so passionate about that? You don't know the fight I went through. You don't know the fight I had to go through to get this blessing and receive it. You have no clue. You don't know. That's why you might see me going crazy in praise, because you don't know the fight I just went through. You don't know how much I've been praying. You don't know how much I've had to go through to see these blessings come into my life. And I don't take it for granted. I don't just let them pass me by. I hold on to those. These are blessings that God gave me. And I can't just let them go. You don't know the fight I went through for this blessing. You don't. Work is a blessing. Your marriage is a blessing. Having good health is a blessing. All those things are blessings. And you don't know the fight I went through to get here. And I'm not going to give it up over something stupid. I'm not going to lose my anointing over something stupid. I can't. You don't know how hard I worked to get this. You don't know the struggle I went through. But everybody wants that anointing, but nobody wants to go out and cook. Everybody wants that anointing, but nobody's willing to actually put in the work to receive it. No one's actually willing to be like, you know what, God, I'm going to do what it takes. I know you're fighting me. You're trying to fight that old me and get it out of me and change my name. But not everyone's willing to hold on. And that's the problem. Not everyone is willing to hold on. They let go at the first sign of, I don't know how you say that, something of opposition. They let go. Once opposition starts, I'm done. I'm letting go. It's that it's that holding on when people are pulling your feet, trying to get you away. Come on, come on, come on. And you're just, I'm holding on. I'm staying right here. I'm not getting out of this. I know I can do this, and I know I'm going to get through it. It will happen. But am I willing to hold on long enough to see it happen? And that's what people just don't understand. How long am I willing to hold on to actually see this happen, to actually see the change that God is going to make in my life? Then Jacob asked him, please tell me your name. But he answered, why do you ask my name? And he blessed him there. Jacob then named the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, he said, and I have been delivered. So then Jacob eventually meets with Esau, and Esau hugs them, they're crying, and they're like, we're making up now. That's what they end up doing. So in the end, we actually see, if you keep on reading, we see that the word over Jacob's life actually comes to pass, where the older one eventually starts to serve the younger one. And God used all those mistakes anyway that Jacob did for that word to come true over his life anyway. But had he not stolen the blessing, the blessing would have still came true, even if he didn't do that. You didn't have to steal, Jacob. You didn't have to do those things. It was extremely unnecessary. You didn't have to go through all that. You didn't have to do all that. It didn't have to happen that way. But this is the way you chose. So now we need to fight to get that old Jacob out of you and change your name into the new person that you're going to be. The fight is always going to change you. When you're pursuing that blessing and you're fighting for that blessing, it is always going to change you. Let us stand up and pray.